Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son sit and talk about a lot of things from fantasy. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. It's great to have you with us here again today for another live stream. This time, one of our midweek specials. We are trying to upgrade the way we use technology and come to you in new and more approachable ways.
So
Um,
please bear with us as we still have our little technical goofs and hiccups. My dad is an old man, um, but we're working on it, and
I
it
do
should be
resemble
pretty
that.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. Moving forward, we're kind of thinking midweek specials are a great way to come to you on YouTube. This is only available right now for our patrons. And we've got Jordan with us, and he's confirming, yes, he can hear and see us. So
Woo!
we're doing so well so far. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Um, I have had like a 3-week break from D&D where I haven't gotten to play slash DM for a while, just schedule conflicts and stuff. But finally tonight we should be continuing again, and I'm very ready and excited. So all day has just been kind of anticipation, and it's feeling pretty good. How about you, Dad? How you
Nice.
doing?
I'm doing well. It's a Sunday. We're getting some things done around the house. Of course, some of that was prepping for the podcast. And we're still helping your sister get ready for moving. She's moving out of the city on Wednesday. Today's her last day of work, so it's imminent. And a little bit of packing is getting done on her end, and then we're loading a whole bunch of stuff in her car. So that
Mm-hmm.
is coming up over the next couple of days.
A little scary,
But
but a lot exciting.
yeah, yeah. And I have no complaints. Nothing really to complain about. It's just a nice day. It's actually warm here. I don't know what you're facing, but it's 63 degrees here and not raining.
I feel like it's warm-ish, which is to say I was outside earlier, but it's been a few hours, so I don't remember.
Okay.
It's
All
definitely
right.
not raining at least though.
Are you drinking something?
I am. Just a nice little Rodler here, so nothing strong, but I was drinking it a little bit before. It's almost empty, so I have another one on deck ready if I should run out. How about you,
Oh, there
Dad?
you go. I've just got a little whiskey today on ice. Open up the flavors a bit.
Woo!
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Nice and simple.
I'm a fan.
All right, let's talk about what we're here for today.
What are we here for today?
Well, this midweek special, we are going to be ranking or rating a whole bunch of things from science fiction and fantasy. We went ahead and put together some things that we want to make a top 3 or bottom
Mhm.
3 of. We also reached out to a lot of our listeners and said, hey, what would you like us to do that with? And we got suggestions. So when some of the categories we're going to rank things on came from our listeners, we'll let you know who submitted it. We couldn't use all the ones that people
No,
contributed because we got a whole bunch.
that would
Uh,
have been like a 4-hour episode
yeah,
or
just a
more.
little too long. Plus, there were a couple where I'm like, I've got no blooming clue.
Look, I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. Do I know everything about it? Absolutely not.
yeah. So we're trying to make sure what we went with, we can bring some game. We've got some entertaining content for people to
And
watch.
as a disclaimer, we will be ranking these. We won't necessarily be ranking them together all the time, but we'll give what our various picks are, what we've thought of.
Mhm.
And you do not have to agree with us. These are arbitrary and opinionated. And if you have other thoughts, please come visit us in our Discord. Tell us what you feel and think. And maybe in future times, you could even compete with a Twitter poll like we had recently completed our Try Reader tournament.
That's right. That's right. Um, yeah, there's all sorts of things that we have opinions on. You said we're rather opinionated with this,
I mean,
and
you're gonna say that I'm wrong and you're right, and that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong about me being wrong.
that's my boy. Okay. But I do invite, like Zach said, come and join us in Discord. Share your thoughts on these things too. Everybody's opinions are valid,
Hmm.
as Zach pointed out even the wrong ones. So totally. Okay. We're not going to be trying to convince each other on these either. We each have our own opinions, as Zach has referenced, and I'm interested to see how many of these we actually match up.
And I
It
think
might be
some of them we
surprising.
might.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get to it. I definitely took some time to prep all of my lists
Mhm.
here. Did you have a chance to do that as well, or is
I
this off the cuff for
actually
you?
did. This is like the second time
No.
in the history of our podcast that we've done something that required prep like this, and I actually did. Not just
Th-
I thought about
wow.
it or I made a loose list, but I went through and what we're reviewing today, if I had something, I wrote it down.
That is amazing. I expect this to be an off the hook episode then. Here we go. All right, the first thing we have, we're going to talk about villains. And
Mhm.
this is specifically contributed by Jordan, who's here with us here today. And we're going to do top 3 most effective villains. That's what we're going to start with.
Okay.
So, the top 3 most effective villains. Who you got, Zach?
So I took this to be effective at like what they were trying to do, not effective as like a villain in the story. Because there's a lot of effective villains plot wise that don't do a good job or something. Um, so I grabbed off the bat Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. Kind of
Okay.
took over the entire galaxy. Um,
Point. Yeah.
I then went over to Narnia and got the White Witch, who took over Narnia
Okay.
and ruled for a long time. Sure, she failed eventually, but it kind of took an act of God. Um,
Wait, before you say your last one, we might as well point out here then there's kind of some spoilers in these. So
oops.
yeah, it's kind of hard to rank some of these things without spoiling. We're not going to dig in deep into the content on
No.
these stories, but sorry, yeah, Palpatine's a bad guy. It's kind of then
If you're
obvious.
not listening to this live, we might have edited in a quick little disclaimer ahead of time, but if you're here live, sorry, I just ruined Star Wars.
Anyone that you literally ruined Star Wars for is not watching or listening to this.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I do
So
say listening because even though this is on YouTube, we will be dropping this into our
mhm.
regular podcast as audio only as well. Okay.
The last of my 3, I took from Mistborn: The Final Empire and The Lord
Mm.
Ruler, who is
Ah.
arguable as to whether that is a villain or not, but at least in that book, how he is seen, absolutely. Um, and he kind of does rule for thousands of years, so
Okay. Fair. I went a little more technical, I think, with my effective villains. I was
okay.
thinking of, okay, the bad guys who really, showed their smarts, got some amazing things accomplished. They were really the movers and shakers. So my number 1 is Grand Admiral Thrawn from
Okay.
the Star Wars expanded universe back
Yeah.
before they retconned. And, Thrawn was incredible. And honestly, he should have been a good guy. He just happened to be working for the bad side, but he was so good at what he did that that's an
I
effective
mean,
villain.
I think you need to watch the animated stuff because I do believe they do some stuff with Thrawn,
Okay.
and it's quite
Okay.
interesting.
Cool. Second, I bring in Tywin Lannister from A Song of
Mm,
Ice and Fire. Um, he goes down badly in the end, but right up until that
what
point,
a
he's
crappy
pretty
ending.
dang affected. Oh, really? Crappy ending. You went there?
Of course I did.
Okay. So Tywin Lannister. And my third one, pulling more from sci-fi, although it's sci-fi
Mhm.
fantasy, I got Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, or Harkonnen, depending how you want to say it, from Dune.
Yeah.
Who's of course, premiere or features very big in the first book, but in ways continues to stick around for quite a while. So uh Harkonnen, Baron Harkonnen, nasty, but very effective.
Nasty would be an accurate word. Now,
Hmm.
on the flip side, we do wanna then highlight some of these villains that are kind of on completely the other side. Not effective, but lacking completely. Um, the first of mine there kind of matches with the first of my effective ones, and that's stormtroopers. They've never landed a shot.
They cannot hit the broadside of a barn. That is the truth.
My other two, however, are potentially controversial, and that's Sauron and Lanfear. And
Okay, Sauron from the Lord of the Rings, of course. Who in the books, keep in mind, is not just a big floating eye.
No.
Okay, there's much more to him. But
to me, end of day, neither one really accomplished what they really wanted to do, and were stopped by less impressive means. So,
all right. Well, my bottom three, I really went, okay, they might have accomplished things for a period of time, but really in the end, they were pretty darn ineffective, or it was way too easy for someone to overcome them. So I've got General Zod from Superman. Well, Superman 2. And there's two different versions of the Superman where Zod is a character, but yeah, he's a putz.
Anytime you get to comics, there's lots of versions, but you're right. There's never a good one.
Then I've got Khan from Star Trek. And really, I'm going more with the original Star Trek 2 movie. That
Not the
version
Benedict
of Khan.
Cumberbatch.
Not Benedict Cumberbatch. We're going to leave Benny alone. But Khan by Ricardo Montalban, he's just way too, obsessed. Corny. And he throws away the victory that was right there in front of him. But the last one, I'm going to Harry Potter.
Okay.
Voldemort, man. Voldemort. He's beaten by a bunch of kids, in essence. Again and again and again.
You're right.
Ineffective. Okay. Let's move to another category.
Yes, please.
This one comes to us from our listener, Emmeline. She asked us to rate top 3 parents or relatives.
Okay.
And we're also going to do bottom 3. But let's focus on top 3 first. I'll go first this time. We'll kind of take turns with that.
I think this is one we might have one that is in common.
Okay. There's so many, actually, good ones. Good parent figures. They might be parents. They might be aunts, uncles, But I went with my number 1, Tam Althor.
He's mine as well.
Time. Yeah, super dad, man. Yeah. So gotta love Tam Althor. My second one, Aunt May from the Spider-Man comics as well as Spider-Man movies. She, steps up for Peter when he loses his parents. And wow, she's always there for him. Always supportive. And my third one, Benjamin Sisko from Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He's just, what a dad. And it's worked into the entire storyline, him and his son, and that relationship and how he, mentors him all the way up to adulthood. So you got to like Sisko. What do you have?
In addition to Tam Althor, I also brought in Roran Stronghammer from the Inheritance Cycle. That's Aragon, eldest Brissinger inheritance, who is a very caring and passionate husband as well as cousin brother figure. I think he's a great character, possibly the best in the series. But the last of which is kind of the epitome of loyalty to family, though not much else. Jaime Lannister. If there's one thing you can't say about Jaime Lannister, it's that he's not a family man.
It's true. Yeah. He definitely had a thing for his sister.
Anyways, trying to not be that kind of podcast.
All right, let's go to the bottom 3. We've already gone down into the gutter, but let's just go to our bottom 3 picks now.
Okay.
My worst parent or relative is someone I've already named here earlier for villains, and it's Tywin Lannister. Man, this guy
He's
sucked
not
as
a good dad.
Especially the way he treats Tyrion. But he uses his other kids. He's just so manipulative and evil, and he
all about the legacy.
Tywin Lannister, man. Second one I've got is Denethor, technically Denethor the Second, from the Lord of the Rings. and the what he does to Faramir, and
He went
even
out in a blaze of glory. It's
the
okay.
position he puts Boromir in. Really, if you look a little deeper, not good. Not a good guy. And the third one I have is Anakin Skywalker, a la Darth Vader.
He's one of mine as well.
There you go. This guy fails the dadometer for sure.
And I go a step further. He also failed the son/brother role before that. No matter where you are, there is constant times of like redemption, maybe, but a need for redemption because he failed so much.
Yeah, yeah. Big fail. All right, so
But
you had Darth Vader.
I did. Beyond that, I also had the Dursleys from Harry Potter,
Okay,
which
I had them on my list and I bumped them out when I
mhm,
came up with the others.
to
Yeah.
me it is less like they're the worst of the worst or whatever, but just like they didn't have to be nasty, and they were. Um, but finally, I have one that this is just my personal preference here. The High Lord Elena from the Thomas Covenant series.
Hmm.
Mostly because the relationship that she does slash doesn't have with her dad is weird, and I do not like it.
Yeah, and that's something you already have expressed previously. You don't like to talk about those such sort of scenarios.
So yeah, that's my three there.
Okay, I'm gonna guess there's a lot of people haven't heard of that one. We're not necessarily recommending the Thomas Covenant series anymore because
I'm
it's kind of
not.
dated. Yeah, okay, but it's some classic high fantasy. All right, let's move on to another list. This is one I just threw into the mix.
Okay.
Top three fantasy favorite or top three favorite fantasy books or series. So we're not
Okay.
saying the best. We're saying our favorite.
It is important to say favorite. I also prepped for book because it said book in the notes.
Yeah, I edited. Sorry.
And well, and that was the sort of thing I was like, I'm not going to take the cop out and say The Wheel of Time for one of mine. No, I picked a book.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead. What do you got then?
Well, my Wheel of Time pick was The Shadow Rising. It's personally my favorite of the 15. But I also threw in The Hobbit, kind of as one of my personal books that started getting me reading more fantasy. And then Mistborn: The Final Empire. Now, that one
Mm,
is currently one of my top, but it will probably get replaced when I finally read some of the Stormlight Archive.
it's possible. That is some heady, deep stuff there. Yeah. And the way you dig into and think about stuff, I could see it replacing Mistborn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my top three. Okay, here's why I ended up changing it. I did originally
Hmm.
say fantasy books. And then when I started thinking what I'd want put down, the first thing I came to was the Wheel of Time and went, I don't want to just pick one. It's like one big story.
Can I
So
guess your
then I
next thought
added
was you didn't
four
want to pick
series.
one Lord of the Rings book either?
Yeah, you might say that too. So yeah, mine are okay. The Wheel of Time is number one. The Lord of the Rings is number two because it's really one big book, one big story.
Did you pick a singular book for your third choice at
I
least?
did not. I picked another series. And this last one is one I haven't finished the series. I've only read the first 5 books, but I am so digging this series. And there's 17 books in it right now, and it's not done. But people keep
Dresden?
telling me, oh, it just gets better and better. Yeah, the Dresden Files. So it's just fun. I mean, it's dark in some places and stuff, but I'm just loving reading the Dresden Files. It's my easy go-to. So that's making it a favorite.
So
Yeah.
I pained and agonized there, and my dad took the easy way out. But
It was my category. I cheated. Yeah. Our next category is one where you cheated. No,
I
you
didn't
didn't
cheat.
cheat.
I just
You didn't
suggested
cheat,
it.
but you created it. That's right. So you made it to fit your style.
Hmm.
So introduce this one, Zach.
So this one for me was my favorite adaptations of fantasy sci-fi books into video games. Now, technically, I
Now,
left it open to be not just video,
thank you, because it doesn't say video
um,
games.
but my choices were
Okay. I
Did you
considered
come up
video
with any?
games, but others as well. I have top 3. I do. I
I'll
got
let you
something.
go first, actually, just because I'm curious what you came up with.
Well, my first one's probably on your list. I've
Probably.
not played it. It's by reputation, but the reputation is so strong. I went, this is going to be a top 3. It's The Witcher. The
I,
Witcher video games.
it is on my list, specifically The Witcher 3.
Okay. See, I wouldn't know that because I haven't played any of them yet, but definitely I hear of the caliber of the games. That's got to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
My second one is a tabletop, and it's
Okay.
Battlestar Galactica, the board game.
I
And
like
it's
it.
a turn-based tabletop thing. You're playing one of 10 characters,
Humans
and
versus Cylons kind of thing.
sort of, and somewhere, you're the humans, the Cylons are trying to win. You're trying to work together to beat them, but one of you is secretly a Cylon. That's how it works. Fun game. I got the chance to play it a
Mm-hmm.
number of times. Really like that one. The last one, Risk, the Lord of the Rings edition, which we own. Technically, you own. I
Yeah.
think you left it here. I don't know. Did you move it?
Wait, do I technically own it? I didn't know that
Oh,
was
maybe,
mine.
I don't know. Maybe we own it. I don't
Hey, if
remember.
you're saying that I own it, you can ship it to me. I'll take it.
I'm not shipping squat. But
um,
it just I mean, Risk as itself is a great game, and there's lots of iterations, but I think the Lord of the Rings version is perhaps the best of the ring
okay,
of the Risk iterations.
fair
And it
enough.
just adds an element that's fun to it. The map is fantastic, and then you got the Dark Rider and the ring itself. It just
Mm-hmm.
adds elements to the game. Very cool. All right, what do you have?
In addition to The Witcher, which you already mentioned, I did go for a Tolkien poll. But the recent game series of Middle Earth, Shadow of, and then it was first Shadow of Mordor and then Shadow of War. It's a really fun game to play, but it also adds to like the depiction of some of the story, but not a part that we see usually.
Okay.
Um, Pre our actual Middle Earth Lord of the Rings story. And it's really engaging and fun. Um, but the last of my three is a weird poll here because it's actually from Ayn Rand books. Um,
Oh, I thought about this one. Go ahead, tell.
Bioshock.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
a trilogy of games, and it's not a
it's not a
direct
direct pull.
adaptation,
Yeah.
but it has pulls from multiple books, but specifically Atlas Shrugged,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
grabs so many things and is really it adapts the feeling of the books.
I mean, even one of the core characters is his last name's Rand. It's um Andrew Rand, I think they put in
I
there.
believe
It's
so.
clearly drawing from, yeah.
Um, but it's one of the games that I would actually go back and play again for the choices that you have to make in the story itself.
All right. Yeah, you can definitely speak to the video games better than I because I play video games, Tetris. I mean, I try the games that are more engaged. We've played together on a few things.
Oh
You
yeah,
kick my butt. I start getting mad. Then my
you
thumbs
have
start to hurt, and that's just
difficulty walking through doors sometimes, but that's okay.
I can't see what I'm supposed to see. Where am I getting shot from? Those sorts of things come out. Jordan has a question. I'm throwing it up here. Oh, I just hit the wrong one.
You hit
Um,
it again.
yeah, sorry. Technology moving. Oh, first he's throwing me some shade. He asked if this is what I get into. Now, I played the original Pong, my friend. I did. I was wicked good. I was only a kid. It was a black and white TV. Yeah, we had TV already. And Pong, there was nuance to it. Okay, I could do that one. But what I was really going for was this question. Because, I mean, I played some Lord of the Rings video games that you had, I think, on the Xbox
Mhm.
way back when. But how about this one? Have you ever done this, Zach? Have you played the Lord of the
Um,
Rings online?
I have not. Most of the online MMORPG stuff that I've done has been the Elder Scrolls series.
Whoa, that was a lot. You just rolled that right out your tongue. I have heard those letters before. I know what that means, but you just I don't think I could have rolled them out that fast.
I mean, you should see when I'm having a conversation about MMORPGs or TTRPGs
You're
and
just
mixing the
showing
two
off now.
between a little bit. Not because it's actually showing off, but because it's really funny to me that it doesn't make sense to you.
Oh no, it made sense. It's just you can't even speak English sometimes, but you can
You're
rip off
right.
these acronyms with a plum.
I can't speak English most of the time.
All right, let's move to another category. This is fun. All
Hmm.
right, this one comes from Twitter, and the Barside Chats podcast suggested for us one that I just went, okay, let's try that. The top 3 things that aren't moons. You know, oh, that's not a moon. You know,
I
okay.
I have 3. I do.
I only came up with 2. Okay, so
Um,
go ahead.
but
You
most
give
of
us your
mine are
3.
jokes. The first is the
Fair.
obvious. It's a Death Star.
Okay, I have the Death
It's
Star
the
in mine too.
classic.
I even wrote after it, duh, in my notes. It's like, yeah,
Um,
the Death Star.
but I also included a call out to Cheshire Cats, specifically the smile crescent in the night sky that turns into the cat.
Nice,
I really like
nice.
that. Um,
That's fantasy. That's
and then
appropriate.
the last one's just the joke. It's Mad Eye Mooney. I know it's not actually, it's Moody, but I wanted it.
Okay, that's bad. That's grown. That's a dad joke worthy. Come on, dude.
I
You're
told you it was
stealing
a
my
joke.
role. All right. Well, I only have one to add to this then. And it's a serious one. I mean, I could have 3 on my list because I've got the Death Star, and then I could have said the Death Star version 2, right? There were 2 of
That's
them, but I
technically
didn't do
true.
that. What I do have though is legit. I brought the Dyson Sphere from Star Trek: The Next Generation,
See,
season
I
6,
thought you were
episode
gonna talk
4,
about
Relics.
I thought we were talking about vacuums, and I was very confused.
No,
I mean, Dyson's the one that
no,
has that ball vacuum, right?
it is. But we're talking about a Dyson Sphere, which shows up in a number of science fiction stories and such. Dyson Sphere being a huge creation in space that encapsulates a star and harnesses all the energy and creates this functional environment, massively huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just reading the chat now and laughing. Jordan's trying to get us in trouble and taking us down dark, dark paths.
I mean, that's fair, but most of the time, I'm looking at the chat occasionally, not all the time. So it's you he's tempting.
So we should mention here the YouTube is open just for our patrons. There will be times we'll live stream open to everybody, but our normal episode content is a perk of supporting us on Patreon. So if you're hearing this or watching this later, you'd like to be part of the silliness that's going on, find us on patreon.com, Fantasy for the Ages. As little as $1 a month gets you access to things like this.
Indeed.
Anyways,
What is your
Dyson Sphere,
actual other? Yeah, the Dyson Sphere. That was it.
that episode was awesome, by the way, because it was the final episode of Scotty, Montgomery Scott, from the original series coming over to the Next Generation, and it was so cool. So cool. If you're a Trekkie, you know that one. You loved that episode. Okay. I'm gonna throw a new category in.
Please do.
Top 3 sci-fi worlds to vacation on.
Okay, I'll go first.
All right.
None of them.
Oh,
None
why?
of them.
What? There's tons
Because-
of great vacation worlds.
Yes, but most of these things that are fantastical places and things that we read about and love also are having horrible things happen in them, and that's part of why we love them. Seeing heroes overcome the odds.
I'm like,
It doesn't
put some
feel
conditions
like a
around
nice
it then.
vacation.
You know, I don't go on a cruise when I know there's a middle of a pandemic going on. I wait till it gets a little, weaker. Same thing. You pick your timing, man.
I mean, if I had to and had the power to wave a magic wand, maybe I'd do something like hop over to the Shire in a really peaceful time. That'd be pretty, but like, I'm not really interested in going to these just as a relaxing vacation.
All right. Well, I do have 3. And Jordan actually dropped into the chat my first one. There's the pleasure planet. They don't call it that specific, but there's a vacation planet where you go and it's nothing but relaxation. It's like Riga or
Yeah,
Riva.
Dad, you really have to be careful with the Pleasure Planet. We're not that kind of podcast.
But Star Trek Next Generation has a place. And with the technologies that they have, it's all your amenities are cared for. You have no needs, no issues, and of course, there's no hunger, there's no lack of, funding. Everything's great. So honestly, you could go to any planet in the Star Trek Federation and probably relax and have a good time. But they do have a specific vacation planet, so I like that one. Secondly, I put Pandora from Avatar,
That one?
with the condition that I'd
Okay.
be using the machinery thingamabob so that I can become one of the big creatures that can live on
Gotcha.
there.
You'd be an avatar, not
Yes.
in a mech or something.
Right. Because that planet's like scary and deadly otherwise.
I mean, the air is literally toxic. So
Yeah, so not so fun. I want to be able to fly on the flapper thingies and go to the floating mountains and enjoy everything. And yeah,
I know
that's
all of
what I
what you're
want.
talking about, and I don't know what it's called either, but it sounds so dumb hearing you do that.
Just wait, I'm watching on YouTube our stream as well. It's a little delayed, so I just saw myself flapping again, and
Yeah.
it's sad. Anyways, the last one I have fits what I told you earlier. You got to pick your timing, and it's Coruscant from Star Wars.
So
The planet that's a full city.
I'm assuming you
And-
want this like Republic days, not
back in the good times.
yeah,
not when the
Empire
has
not
come along
New
and made a
Republic when it
mess.
gets destroyed.
Right. I want it when it was idyllic and we pretended everything was wonderful. And of course, I'm at the top levels where there's lots of happening bars and night spots, not down in the depths where it's dirty, gross, and all the sewage went. So pick your spots. All right. The next one up comes from our listener, Gentle Giant Jason, also one of our Discordians. And he threw to us to pick computers or robots. So
Okay.
I said, let's do a top 3 and a bottom 3 from all of science fiction and fantasy. Your top 3 computers or robots, and your bottom 3. So top 3 first. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
right.
I do need to preface this is not like the best or most effective, or no, it's the ones I like best, or well, the ones
They're
that annoy
your
me the
top
most.
3. They do it for you. All right.
So the first one's going to be Iron Giant.
I thought about that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
The next will be Data from Next Generation.
Now, I have Data on my list with question marks because technically, he's an
count
android.
androids
really,
as robot in this category.
Okay, so I'm giving it to you, therefore, because I would have been asking you to give it to me.
Yeah,
so
you can have it.
We have Data, yes.
And then finally, something that it's just kind of new to me recently, but well, just kind of new in general, but something that I've started falling in love with, and that's one of the new characters on Critical Role, Fresh Cut Grass. So if you're a critter, you know what that means, and you're probably in love with him as well.
And if you're me, you're like, I'm familiar with Critical Role, but I've never listened or watched or anything, so I got nothing. Okay, so I have Data, of course. I also threw in R2D2 because who doesn't love R2D2?
I'm glad you did because I almost did and I held back.
The last one I have is the Terminator. After he's been transformed to become Super Guardian, Super Protector.
Just not the first movie.
Not the first one. Yeah. So bottom 3, I'll go first this time.
Go
because
for
I
it.
again include the Terminator, but this time the one from the first one, as well as those other iterations that come out that are so deadly and keep beating up Arnold. So those Terminators, really bad. Bottom 3, I hate them. Bad guys. So these aren't ineffective. They're just, I'm choosing to say these are the ones that bad.
Yeah.
Don't like these guys. Second one, Ultron from the Marvel universe.
Not a nice guy.
We've got him in a movie, but we've also got him throughout the comics. Yeah. Ultron's nasty. And the last one I have, this one's interesting. There could be an argument that he didn't do anything wrong. HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That's one that I almost included on my bad list as well.
He was
But
just
you're
following his
right.
programming. So, how can you blame him?
Doesn't mean you have to like him though.
No, you don't. Okay. So who do you
So
have for your bad ones?
I
Or
start with
bottom?
C3PO because he's kind of annoying. Sorry.
By the way, just throw it in here. Jordan totally agreed with me. He was
Yeah.
just doing his job. Poor Hal. But okay, C3PO. Yes,
Yeah.
I can understand that.
My second one is another android. Trying to remember the name. It's that android that Sir Ian Holm plays in Alien.
Oh yeah, I thought about putting him on the list.
I want to say the name starts with an A, but I don't remember what it is.
Oh, I can't remember the name right now. I looked at this one earlier today because I thought about putting him on the list. But you're right. Oh,
And it's just
bad guy.
it's just nasty, like
Yeah,
nasty person kind of thing. But
I'm
he's
here to
not.
just use you guys following my programming again, following programming, so we can catch one of these aliens. Yeah.
And then the last one of these, it's just because Rach recently pointed out to me how annoying their voice is. And it's the Guilty Spark from Halo. My dad probably has no idea who and what that is.
Well, I know what Halo is.
But it's a really annoying voice and a creepy laugh. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I hate this thing.
Here's another funny comment in the chat that I'll throw up here. Star Wars is just the story of 3 generations of people bullying C3PO.
You're right, but that's mostly because the fans bullied Jar Jar Binks so much that they got rid of him entirely.
All right, another one from one of our fans. I love this one from Emmeline. Bottom 3 book or series endings. So you're thinking about the biggest letdowns you experienced as you were working through, you've invested time in the story, and then this is the crap they give us at the end. I'm happy to go first on this one if you want.
I'll let you.
Okay. The first one, The Hunger Games.
That we agree.
Wow.
That's on my list.
Man, I so felt like the author, Susan Cooper. No, that's not right.
Suzanne Collins.
Suzanne Collins.
She has another series, The Underland Chronicles, I believe.
Which you
much
like
better.
Yeah.
Much better.
But I was like, she ran out of ideas. Just sad. Jordan definitely agrees with us. This one, it was very disappointing. I mean, there was such a good build up to it. And then to have that just go.
And yet, somehow they made the disappointing part into 2 movies.
I know. It's money grab. All right. Second one kind of feels the same. It's the Maze Runner series. When you get to the final book, The Death Cure. It's like, that's not... Okay, you went through all this stuff and that's how you finish it? I'm not going to spoil it, but...
So what I'm hearing is you don't think YA series know how to end.
It would feel that way. But that's not true. There's some great YA series, and my last choice is definitely not YA.
Okay.
And it's specifically pulling from fantasy on the screen, Game of Thrones.
Okay, so we have 2 that are matching on our lists, Hunger Games and Game of Thrones, the show.
Yeah, I mean...
You're right.
Once they ran out of source material, it went downhill harshly, and it totally dropped the ball with that last season. Okay.
The only place where I differ and have a different option on this one is one that you probably won't agree with, and that's the Chronicles of Narnia. The way the series ended,
I don't like the last battle, huh?
I just felt like it was really a letdown. In the entire last book there is just like meh, and it feels more committed to the meaning of what the story was meant to be than what the actual story was. And so like I admire it for what it did and what it was trying to do, but at the same time, I don't enjoy it.
I can get that. All right. That works. All right.
I threw, I think, the next one at us.
Okay, tell us.
And that's just because I enjoy them. I wanted to know, what do you think are your favorite maps fantasy, sci-fi, we have maps all over the place, whether it be galaxies or countries or whatever. What do you like?
All right, I'll give you my top three. One
Mhm.
is sitting there, right? There it is. So the map from the
Fair
Wheel of
enough.
Time. Okay, the Westlands, nicknamed Randlands sometimes.
Mhm.
I love the map. The intricacies about it. So that's a good one. Second one, you're not familiar with at all, but the map of Roshar from the Stormlight Archive.
Mm,
The lands of
I've seen it.
Roshar are very unique, and where they are on the map very much matters to how the world impacts them. So that one's used well. And my last one is from A Song on Ice and Fire. So Westeros, Essos, all the ways the lands interact with each other. I like that map. Very
So
detailed, good stuff, plays into the story.
the only one that we actually have the same here is that last one. I like it specifically because of the way they were able to kind of animate it in the intro of the show, made it extra interesting. I left the Wheel of Time map
Sorry.
out because it feels like just another one of these map coming out of the corner ones, and went with one that I felt was more of the original map coming out of the corner ones, which is what's
Is it
behind
the one
me,
behind you?
the map of Middle Earth. But
Yeah,
my
Tolkien
last of the
really set the
maps,
stage for how this stuff ought to be done with that map.
mhm. My last of my maps is one that I think you are actually getting into a little bit more here soon, um, and that's the map for Discworld. In fact, this map is so intense that they made an atlas that is sold as a book just for Discworld.
Yeah, I'm a little over halfway through my first Discworld book, which is The Color of Magic. And basically, the picture of the map in my mind right now is just a flat disk of a planet sitting on top of four elements on top of a turtle. That's as
And it's
much as I can
really
grip.
fun. It's really
I
fun.
can't really
Just
grasp
that.
more than that right now. I mean, I've caught that the center has the disintegrated sea or something. I think that's the term for it. No, something to do with it being so dry. It's not disintegrated. It's a dehydrated sea.
There we go.
Yeah, with sand in the center of the hub that's so dry you can actually sail through it. I'm like, okay. And then, of course, the falls off the edge. Okay, I've got that, but everything in the middle, all over, yeah,
It is
nothing.
an utterly ridiculous map, but it is so fantastic.
All right. So we have all your maps.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look forward to learning more about Discworld. Let's see.
What do we have?
The chat just asks, Jordan asks, so was Terry Pratchett a flat earther? Discworld, nice.
It's more of a
That's pretty
bowl.
good. All right. Next up, we have from Jordo the top 3 cliffhanger moments.
Okay, so I almost feel like I have to apologize on this one because I don't have a top 3 cliffhangers because I feel like cliffhangers are almost overrated. It's like, yes, but as long as there is more to actually read, I'm just going to go read more. I don't feel like it's a cliffhanger. And if I don't have more to read, then I'm just annoyed and I'm not going to like it. So it's not going to be best.
Well, you want to give us your list?
No, that is my list. I don't have one.
Oh, that was it. Totally missed. I'm still waiting for. Okay, that's your explanation.
Sorry, I was giving you a cliffhanger about my lack of lists.
Oh man, nice, Zach. Nice. Okay, no, I came up with 3, and I'm thinking to my experience with literature, with movies along the time, and something was a cliffhanger, even if then later on I got the answers. Okay, so my 3 top cliffhanger moments would be from A Song of Ice and Fire, A Dance with Dragons, when Jon Snow dies.
Mm-hmm.
Cliffhanger, because it's near the end of the book. And to be honest, still there is no other book. So we don't really know what happens to Jon. Now, the TV series played out something out of that, but is that what the books will really do? We still don't know. Okay, so that's one. My second one is from The Hunger Games, the ending of Catching Fire, book 2. Where all this stuff
Okay.
has happened in a flurry, and Katniss has been
Yeah.
rescued, and now she's in District 13, and it made us want to read the next book, which was
Which
why
was a
it
massive
sucked so
disappointment.
much that the next book was so disappointing. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's true often. An author builds something up so much, you gotta have a payoff. You must deliver. And if you fail to deliver, fans get ticked. So cliffhangers are risky.
Mhm.
My last one, and I'm old enough to remember when this was truly a cliffhanger.
Oh no.
From The Empire Strikes Back. No, I am your father. No! Yeah, that whole
Yeah,
bit with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
I'm definitely not old enough because there's a fair chance I knew that before I saw the movies. I mean, I saw them very young, but it's probably something that was really hard to miss.
Because it's become so much of pop culture.
Not to
Absolutely.
mention, there's no way you like couldn't help yourself whenever I was born within the first days telling me that no, you are my father.
You
You're
even
just
have a
that kind of
coffee mug.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good one. But again, when I was young, I was just a preteen at that point. When it came out, we had to wait. Was he telling the truth? Is that real? And you don't get the explanation till the start of the next movie. So,
Yeah.
cliffhanger. All right. Another category for us comes from Emmeline,
Okay.
and it's one I had to think a little bit. And I think I
Okay.
got some good ones. She asked for our top 3 opening lines from science fiction and fantasy.
Can we agree that we probably both have the Wheel of Time?
We do. We
Okay.
do. So I'm gonna
It
read
felt like a
that.
safe
Not every
pick.
might know it, but from every book, after the prologue, if there's a prologue, it starts with this: the wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. And then there's a little unique something for the book you're on, and then it finishes with, there are neither beginnings nor endings to the wheel of time, but it was a beginning. Yeah, that's classic.
Especially because it is done every time, 15 times.
And it makes it work every time. What's another one you have?
Another one that I pulled was from The Hobbit. It felt
So did
classic
I.
and wonderful, and
Yes.
just in a hole in the ground, there lived
There
a
lived a
hobbit.
hobbit. It's beautiful. All right,
Straight,
we're 2
simple, and
for
to the point,
2.
but it's there.
We are
I
2 for
don't
2.
think we'll have the same one for the third. So you
Well,
go
I
ahead and give me
pulled a
your
little
third.
differently for the third one
I
as
did as
well.
well.
So maybe we ended up pulling the same interesting, unique thing. That would be weird.
What'd you do?
Well, mine's from C.S. Lewis.
No.
Okay. Whew. All right. Well, I went with the lead from The Voyage of the Dawn Treader from the
I
Chronicles of
did
Narnia.
almost do that one, though.
It's great. What a line. Simple sentence. There was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrubb, and
And
he
he
almost
almost
deserved it.
deserved it.
That's a great introductory line.
Oh.
And yes, you come to understand he did. What do you have?
I grabbed Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I thought about that
Mhm.
one.
Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun.
Yeah. There's so many great starts to stories that this was actually hard. And it's surprising we have 2 of the same thing. Not surprising we have 1 of the
I
same.
don't think it's surprising that we have 2 of the same.
All right, I threw in one now that I'm thinking of my son when I put this category in here because we've had
Ouch!
conversations. Well, not that, but
The
top
way
3
you phrased it,
sidekicks.
knowing it?
Well, we've argued over whether someone is a sidekick or not, so we could have some disputes
Oh, yeah.
here.
I put people in that I don't think count as sidekicks, but I counted them for the sake of this.
All right, all right. Well, let's see if we have any similar. We might have 1 or 2,
Okay.
not all 3. I'm sure of that. What do you have?
I started with Hopper.
Hopper. That's a great sidekick.
I
I
consider him
didn't
to be
have
a
Hopper
parent sidekick.
from the Wheel of Time.
hmm
Okay.
I then grabbed Tensoon.
Ooh, from Mistborn.
hmm
Okay.
And at that point, I was really tempted to try and find another dog character, and just have the top three dogs.
That's like a
But
different character category, but okay.
I didn't. The final one that I went with, and it's arguable whether or not they count as a sidekick or not. But Hermione Granger. I think she's valid and is a character in her own right, but the
Mm.
books are all called Harry Potter and the.
You've got a point. You've got a point. All right. I'll give it to you. Well, I have three totally different ones. My first one I had to go with after our frequent conversations, Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings. Classic
Yeah,
sidekick.
you're right.
Second one, Chewbacca from Star Wars.
I'll give it to you.
Han Solo's sidekick. Yeah. And my third one, Bob the Skull from the Dresden Files. Again, you haven't read those yet. Once you
No, but
do,
I've heard of.
Bob makes a great sidekick. And not the typical or prototypical sidekick, but definitely shares some of the characteristics, plays that role in this series.
Okay. Okay.
All right, now we've got one you came up with.
Yes. I had game adaptations in the past, but now, by contrast, I'm talking about some of our favorite games or sports that come out of fantasy. The things that were created for that or just made popular and utilized, and maybe even have made their way over to our world and people play it now, but it has no basis in reality before books.
I have only two. I couldn't come up with three.
I
I
had way too many. I have an honorable mention.
Well, good. Then we'll get some balance here. Let me give you mine first. The first one is just the unique way basketball is played in Space Jam. I'm reaching, okay? I'm reaching here, but they definitely have their own unique version in Space Jam.
Sure.
And that is fantastical. Okay. My second, I'm sure you've got to have on your list, Quidditch from
Yes,
Harry Potter.
Quidditch was the first on my list.
It's just sad how many people play Quidditch in real life now. Because you guys realize you're just running around holding brooms, right?
It's not
You
sad.
realize that?
It's very entertaining to watch. Keep doing it.
It's what's the term? There's an acronym for that. What they're doing is
You are looking for LARPing.
yes.
That's
Isn't
not
that
what that
LARPing?
is, but
Does it kind of
it's
count?
on the right
Live action role play?
track.
Come on.
You can think of it as
Unless they
kind of
really think they're
LARPing.
flying on the brooms, I think they're LARPing.
It's I guess kind of. I'll
Okay,
give you
if
a
they-
kind of.
If they're just playing Quidditch with real world physics rules, then that's
Yeah.
not LARPing. Okay, but if they're actually pretending to play Quidditch Harry Potter style, that's LARPing.
To me,
think
the
that's a good
difference
definition.
brings in: are they being themselves playing Quidditch, or are they characters?
Okay. So
To me,
before we get a lot of hate mail over this one, I do acknowledge and understand there are people who play Quidditch in the way you could actually play it now
yeah.
with our physics and no magic. I get that. And if you're having fun with it, you go for it.
So in addition to Quidditch, I also put, and I'm sad you couldn't think of this, 3D chess.
Oh, I got
Coming out of
stuck
Star
on the
Trek.
sports. See, I got stuck on sports. Man, of course, 3D chess.
And the other that I included in my actual top three is Sabak. The game with cards from Star Wars.
Let the Wookiee win.
No,
No, that's not Sabak though.
No, that's chess.
That's just
but
that's just
it's just chess.
Yeah, but I think they have a different name for
like
it. They don't call it
holograms,
chess.
and they definitely don't call it, but it looks like it's just chess. But Sabak is kind of similar. It has different rules, but it's kind of similar to like 5-card stud poker kind of thing. And it's the game that Han Solo lost and won the Millennium Falcon. that whole interaction.
Ah,
And
okay.
real life versions do exist, and you can go to, say, Disney resorts and play it with cast members.
There you go.
My honorable mention was from Ready Player One, and that's just the Oasis, that virtual
Oh, the
reality
whole
game.
virtual reality.
It's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
world.
Now, I thought of one more while we've been talking,
Go for it.
and I don't think they call it this in the show, but Snake from Tron. They're on the
The light
light
bikes.
cycles, and you're trying to cut them off,
Yeah.
and you could play that as a version of Snake, a video game. So that's great. That's a good one.
Yeah, no, you're right.
All right. Here's another one, and I'm interested to hear what you came up with for this. This was hard because there's so many options, but Side Chats podcast again
Uh-huh.
gives us top 3 magic spells. And I'm like, magic is so different in so many different settings. How do you actually come up with the top 3? So mine are really general spell category types, I think.
I tried for specific things, but not one from any, not two from any one thing.
Okay.
What are
You
your
want to go
generals?
first? Okay.
I'll let you
go
do some
first.
generals first.
Okay. So my third best would be the time reversal charm. If you have something like in Harry Potter, where you can suddenly turn time back an hour or 5 hours or whatever, and be able to completely redo, change, fix whatever got messed up, that's some pretty powerful magic.
Okay.
Second, any sort of insta-kill spell.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability to say that word and now it doesn't matter what that guy does, he's dead. Dead, dead, dead. Maybe even not even come back dead.
I'm
Just
concerned
dead.
this is one of your favorites.
Yeah, pretty powerful. Good thing it doesn't work over such distance. Okay. My my last one is any form of a wish spell.
Okay.
With the understanding you can wish anything to happen. So the 2 previous things I just described could be accomplished with a wish spell, but anything. I want to be the all-powerful genie. Idiot, you're in a bottle now. I mean, you have to be careful how you use this spell,
Definitely.
but it has unlimited possibilities. So, wow. There you go. Most powerful. Yeah. Bam.
The closest I got to general was actually including wishes on mine as well. That the concept of a wish as a spell, I think, is really interesting, and there are so many different variations on it. I love it. I also went to D&D, and partially for the meme and partially because it's actually a really useful spell, I picked Fireball. And yes,
it's a classic.
You do cast it when all of your party is also within the radius. Even if you can't save them from it, you do it anyways. That one might get me some hate.
We're going to come back to that in a couple questions down the list here. Okay,
I
almost
put that for another one. And the last is Expecto Patronum, the specific Patronus charm from Harry Potter, and the fact that as you get more skilled with it, it manifests as like an animal that is attuned to you, and it's really interesting and one of the more in-depth spells in a world where a lot of the spells are loosey-goosey.
Okay. So that wasn't as hard as it might have been then. There you go. We nailed it. We got the spells. Yeah. All right, next one. One of my categories. Top 3 spaceships.
I am wanting to go first on this one.
All right.
Mostly because I don't want you to take my thunder first, as I start with the TARDIS.
I wonder if you have... I have the TARDIS in mine. Yes.
I didn't want you to take it. Time and relative dimension in space.
Not
Best one out there.
think of the TARDIS. I'm impressed. We both did. I mostly did because of you, because you're the one that got me back into Doctor Who. So there you go.
Then I have another couple classics. An X-wing.
I didn't go X-wing. I went with a different Star Wars spaceship.
And then I did go a little bit off the beaten path for this classic, but it is still from a classic thing. I picked a Borg cube.
All right. massive thing, hard to stop.
It makes
It's
no
kind of
sense,
futile.
but is also really fun.
Actually, it makes a lot of
I mean,
sense
it's
because
not
what we think
necessary
about
to
with
worry about
spaceships,
aerodynamics in space.
yeah,
So, like,
exactly. We're so confused about what spaceships need to be
why
because
not
of
make it a
things
Rubik's Cube?
like Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, from Star Wars, I went with the Millennium Falcon.
Hmm.
It's a piece of junk, but it's such a classic, iconic ship. That's a top spaceship for me. Plus, I always wanted one as a child, and my parents said no. It cost $50 when I was a kid, and they were not buying me a freaking toy that cost $50.
Hmm.
I got a lot of $2.99 Star Wars characters, but no $50 spaceship. Now, my mom, I think, does listen to these. Your grandma. I mean, she is a subscriber on our Facebook page. Facebook. Um, I'll give her props, that I did get I did get some Star Wars spaceships, just not the Millennium Falcon. I
Yes.
had an X-wing. I had a snow speeder. I had a twin pod. The
Hmm.
pod the from Bespin. I forget. I shouldn't have clap right in front of the microphone. But
It's
anyways,
just
I
another
had
clap
some
sync. You're fine.
spaceships. I just didn't get the premier Millennium Falcon. The last one I have is the USS Enterprise,
See, that's where
specifically
I
version
thought you
D
might.
from Star Trek Next Generation. Just what a posh ship, man. It could do so much. It could disengage the saucer from the other, all sorts of things. And they played poker, they had holodecks, they did whatever they wanted on that ship. It was awesome.
What's next?
All right, this is another one where I was thinking of you, and I was like, he's got to be able to have some fun with this. So my answers are probably going to pale in comparison to yours. The bottom three D&D decisions a
Hmm.
company can make
All right,
when
I'll
they're
let you go
campaigning.
first and see if you came up with any of the ones that I say I think are some of the worst decisions you can make.
Okay, I thought about this. I was like, okay, opening a chest without checking for traps. No, that is so basic and stupid. That's not the biggest. So I really thought, okay, what would be the most? And so one of them is something you said with the stinking fireball earlier, sort of, and that is somebody casting a spell without really reading the spell description carefully. So they didn't check to see what kind of range, what kind of,
Hmm.
area and the damage they could end up doing to their own people simply because they didn't pay attention, didn't read the fine print on the spell. So that
That
would be
fine
one of them.
print is one of the only reasons an evocation wizard is one of the best you can pick.
Second, making a rash decision and just doing it without consulting with the other people in your company,
At least
because
results.
that often leads to death.
I mean, that too.
Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't, and it was a
Hey,
pointless issue.
something is always going to happen if you do that, though.
Well, that's true. You may not like what happens. All right, the third one, and I've walked into this,
Hmm.
unfortunately, overestimating your abilities and taking on a situation or a powerful creature. I mean, something you had no business just moving right into. Because,
Okay.
yeah, we can do it. And it's like, no, no, you can't. No, sorry. You didn't have a prayer.
Everything you said is completely valid. It's also none of mine.
Well, you're a dungeon master now. You're in this world
Oh,
a lot
that
more.
doesn't make
So,
me my opinion any more valid, especially considering at least one of mine comes from one of my first experiences as a player when you were my DM. Um,
well, let's hear it.
the first is just a classic. Don't split the party. You're asking for
Mm,
a TPK.
that
Um,
also comes along from horror movies.
yeah.
Same principle.
Uh, the second here comes from how my favorite first character died, and that's just see something, don't touch it, don't eat it, don't just do. If you see something that looks suspicious and you have a 10-foot pole, use the 10-foot pole. Don't just go like touch the moldy mushrooms because it's an instant
Yeah,
kill.
I
And
remember
why
that
is
one.
D&D 3.5e a no save instant kill for touching something? Why?
Well, let's start over now.
I was so upset
You
because there
were.
was nothing I could do. Um, the last of these is a little bit of a tropey-ish thing almost. But unless you've really thought it through, don't read. Specifically, don't read something out loud. One of the
Yes.
best examples of this is The Mummy, actually. Don't read from the book. All you had to do was not read.
Right? That's it. Words have power. All right. Good ones. I like. Let's go to another category from Jordo.
Okay.
I had to think a little harder on this one. Top 3
I-
plot holes in science fiction and fantasy.
For the most part, I forgive these. I have one, and it's mostly a joke. Partially because I think Jordo will either be mad at me or appreciate it.
Well, why don't you go ahead first on this one?
Okay. My one and only is why didn't they just fly the Eagles further? Why not just like hop a
Lord of
quick
the
flight
Rings.
over Mount Doom and just drop?
It's fair. Why not? Why not?
Like, there are actual reasons and explanations. It is covered in notes, but in the actual books, just straight as you read them without going deep into it, why not?
So you said that was the only one you had then?
That's the only one I cared to mention. Yeah.
Ha. All right. I have 3. I did come
Okay.
up with 3. The first is really a broad one, and it's from Harry Potter. Why in the world are there so many clues about everything that's going on left for Harry and his friends to find? It's like Voldemort really wanted them to put him down.
No,
Was
Snape
secretly
did.
hoping to be destroyed because they make it so easy. I mean, progressively a little more difficult as you go along, but it's like, we're grooming you on how to read the clues and figure everything out. It's all there for you. We're helping you out step by step. It's a major plot hole. Come on. If you really want to destroy the world as an evil wizard, you do not make it so easy for someone to stop you.
I give all the credit to Snape on that one and actually explain it away, but it's not in the books.
Second one from Twilight. Now, we usually will not talk about Twilight.
Does it count?
But the plot hole I have is after
Everything?
so long a lifespan, why are some of them still going to high school? Seriously?
still
That's the
look like
best you can come up with? They don't. They could have totally posed as college students or that age, and they have jobs already. They do not have to be going to high school, but they're still going to high school.
This
Really?
especially gets put into perspective when you realize you started going to college at 16. I started going at 17. So, like, young people go to college.
Yeah. So that's weak. That's weak.
You've got one
But
more?
I saved my best for last. It's from the classic 1998 movie, Armageddon.
Okay.
It's weak science fiction. And the reason is...
Well, it's definitely not science, so...
Well, the huge plot hole is that it was actually apparently easier to train deep oil diggers to become astronauts
Than to train astronauts
to train astronauts how to drill into an asteroid. I mean, really? When they actually got up there and you see them do it, it's not real hard. They just position the machine and let it drill.
As someone who doesn't know how to do either of those things, I'm not going to speak to whether that's a plot hole or not, because both are probably technically actually difficult to know how to do and run properly. I don't know.
Yeah, but still, even, I'd say it would have been simpler to find one driller, hire him as a consultant, the one who you think is most fit to drag along on a spaceship, than to bring a whole crew up, put them through training, crash course, and think, that's a good idea. Let's send them to space.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what they wanted to do. But he said, if we're doing this, we're taking my crew.
Well, he said, this takes a lifetime of skills that you develop on the rig, learning how to do this. You can't expect astronauts just learn to do that. It's like poppycock. Yes, you could. So, plot hole. All right. Again, our opinions, people. You disagree. You have better ones. We want to hear them from you.
We do still have a few more to go through, so let's keep going.
Yep. Top 3 most terrifying aliens. What you
Uh,
got?
right off the bat, xenomorphs. The
Yep, I have
classic
that one too.
alien, whether they're
Oh,
in
yeah.
facehugger form or the double mouth form.
They're terrifying.
Yeah, intentionally. The
Hmm.
next one is kind of a stretch of me thinking that I'm pretty sure this one technically is an alien. Stephen King's It.
He is. You're right. He is an
And it's
alien.
quite literally a terrifying alien.
Well, it doesn't hurt that he's a clown most often,
I
and
don't like
you kind
clowns.
of have a thing about clowns.
I'm not afraid of clowns, but if a clown does come out of nowhere, it is getting punched. Sorry.
You really ought to watch that
Um,
B horror movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
I've seen
sometime.
it.
You
It's
have,
not
all right.
good.
It's campy.
And the last comes from Halo for me because as a kid, this was one of the first games that I actually played for, as far as first-person shooters go.
And could beat
And
me in, yeah.
it's the Flood, kind of your classic alien zombie thing.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I'll take your word for
I'll
it.
send you a picture later, and you'll get the heebie-jeebies. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, again, for my 3, I agreed on Xenomorphs from Alien. I also went with The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. Classic movie. Takes whatever shape it wants, can totally become seemingly your friend, but it's not. It's an alien about to bite your face off. Yeah. And the last one kind of goes in that same theme, so you can get where I see terrifying aliens. It's the Body Snatchers from either version of the Body Snatchers, where they're just taking over. I mean, that's scary. Okay.
I like how
let's
we're
go
seeing
to
a little window into your psyche here.
If your mother starts acting a little different, I'm going to start having worries. Okay. From Emmeline, we got another one from her. Top 3 TV or film adaptations from science fiction and fantasy. We're going to do bottom 3 as well, but let's start with a top 3. What do you like the best?
I'm not putting these in any specific order, but I am telling you that Game of Thrones is on both of my lists here as best and worst adaptations.
I only have it on the best with the caveat until the last season. Yeah, so okay, I hear you. I feel you.
I also included the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yes, they're on my list.
And I really enjoyed Netflix's The Witcher adaptation. And as we're getting season 2, I'm very excited. So,
okay,
that's my 3 best.
For my third one, I put The Wheel of Time, and I put
it's not out
hoping, but yeah, that's not my serious one. I put The Princess Bride, which is an adaptation of a story, and it's delightful. Just whether it's a completely faithful version, I don't care. It's just a delightful movie.
That is unexpected, but I respect your choice.
Thank you. You could have said, as you wish.
Yeah, but it was too shoehorned in there. I wasn't going to do it. It was inconceivable to figure that out.
Nice. Got it. Well done. Okay, bottom 3. I want to go first.
Go for it.
Because you know the Shannara Chronicles are on my list.
Yeah, they are.
Horrible. Oh. Okay. Second, The Legend of the Seeker. Made it 2 seasons. Its problem is not so much the show, it's that the source material, the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind, is questionable material to start with. And then they try to make a series out of it, and it's like,
See, both of those I acknowledge as being not actually very good shows, but I enjoyed both of them. And
I still
binged.
talk to you. That's what's impressive. I still talk to you.
I
you
enjoy
like
trash
Shannara
TV
Chronicles.
sometimes. It's fine. I know it's trash. I still enjoy it.
There are train wrecks, literal train wrecks, that heard about the Shannara Chronicles and said to themselves, well, we're not so bad.
So what's the third bad one for you?
The Hobbit.
That's also on my bad list. Yeah, no, my bad list mirrored
How
my
in
good
the world
list.
did they make so many movies out of this one delightful novel?
That I
just
included
terrible.
Hobbit, Game of Thrones, and then you could probably guess my third one, bone to pick, Aragon.
Yeah. Now, see, that's the one where I thought movie's not so bad, but I hadn't read the book.
Movie's bad.
All right. We've got 3 more and then a special thing at the end.
Okay.
So this one's for me. The bottom 3 inns. So, we're thinking common rooms. So a tavern or a pub might qualify as well. Bottom 3 inns.
As long as they don't have a skinny innkeeper, I don't have any.
Well, then you'll like that one of mine is the Dancing Cartman from Four Kings in the Wheel of Time.
Which has a skinny innkeeper.
Samuel Hake was a very skinny innkeeper, indeed. The second one I pulled out Mos Eisley, the Cantina.
Okay.
Yeah, they got some scummy people in there. I don't know
that
they
fan
had
of the jizz
lodging
music?
there necessarily, but it's people picking fights, people shooting first or second or whatever. Yeah. And they don't even accept droids. They're very discriminating. The last one I have bothers me because I don't know where I got it from.
Okay.
I think
we'll see if I recognize it.
Well, I think it might be from Arcanum Unbounded, maybe. A series of short stories by Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
But I didn't look. There's a story. It's just a short story about an inn kind of in the middle between places where people come and they stay and the innkeeper kills people. It's like the Roach Motel. They check in, they never check out. There's some that never go anywhere, but no one knows it's the innkeeper. It's a mystery. So maybe now I shouldn't find the name because I just ruined a complete story for everybody.
Sorry. It's okay. It got ruined for me too.
If you ever identify an inn where patrons keep disappearing because the innkeeper is killing them, that was on my list.
There.
No, don't stay there. All right, we have one last one from Emmeline.
Okay.
This is the last one listeners contributed. Top 3 science fiction and fantasy soundtracks. So we're kind of thinking TVs and movies now, the soundtracks. What do you have? I'm wondering if we have the same ones.
I have 2 polls that I think you'll probably have and agree with me. And then one that's a little more obscure in terms of where your mind probably went. The first being The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Great music.
Classic. Mm-hmm.
The second being the soundtrack to Game of Thrones, including
I did not include
song,
that.
and then
because that's the only thing I can
songs,
remember, the theme song.
A number of songs through it, including one of my personal favorites being The Reigns of Castamere. There's a lot of just really beautiful and meaningful music that pairs well with what happens in the show.
Okay, I have a segue here that's funny related to this. The music from Game of Thrones. There's a cameo at the beginning of season 8. I think it's the beginning of season 8. It might be the beginning of season 7, right? Where Ed Sheeran shows up.
Yeah.
And he's even actually singing in his brief cameo, which is kind of sad. But, okay, Ed Sheeran's on there. Okay, last night your mother and I watched the movie Red Notice.
Okay.
It's made for Netflix, but it features 3 big names. Gal Gadot, Dwayne Johnson, and Ryan Reynolds are the lead actors.
Those are bigger names. Movie.
Yeah. Just kind of a heist action flick. Gotcha. It was very good. But there's one point late in the movie where Ed Sheeran appears as himself performing at a wedding of a billionaire's daughter. And the place is raided because they've done some illegal things.
Okay.
And Ed Sheeran gets dragged away as part of this because he kind of has a tussle with some of the agents that show up. And as they're dragging him off, he's literally yelling, "Don't you know who I am? I was on Game of Thrones!" We both bust out laughing when he said that line. That was hilarious. It's like, yeah, for a little bit. But that's what he's using. I was on Game of Thrones. It's a comedy, by the way. The whole movie is great, but you laugh all the way through, too.
Fair enough.
Yes. What was your last one?
My last one is X-Men First Class.
Ooh, wow. You really like that
It
soundtrack.
was a
I don't even
weird pull,
remember
but
the soundtrack.
it's really good music, and honestly, if you need music for, like, a workout or a run, this will get you pumped.
It'll
It's
pump
it's
you up.
orchestral for a lot of it, but in a
Uh-huh.
really good way.
Okay. All right. Nice. Well, my three, The Lord of the Rings. Absolutely. Probably the best. But I also pulled Star Wars.
Mhm.
It's an iconic soundtrack. Um, the last one I put simply because it's decent music. It's good.
Okay.
Top composer. But as soon as you hear it, you are sucked into the world. And that's the soundtrack of Harry Potter.
Fair enough.
The moment that opening music starts, you know right where you are. And it's perfect music for the setting. So, all right. My last regular one for us. Top
Yes.
three most enjoyable current science fiction and fantasy actors.
Understood.
And there's a lot to pick from.
You're right. Do you wanna
Give
go
me
first, or do
one.
you want me to go first?
Let's go back and forth on this one. Give me one that you picked.
I grabbed Matt Smith, who both was the Doctor,
And
but
now,
also is going to be a Targaryen.
mm-hmm.
So we get sci-fi and fantasy. Um,
Nice.
and he was my favorite Doctor, so it felt really easy to just be like, Matt Smith, done.
All right. Here's one of mine.
Mhm.
Henry Cavill.
Okay.
Obviously, The Witcher, also Superman. He's been around, but everything he does, it's good. Does a great job. And honestly, I think his best role so far is
Geralt of
Rivera.
Rivia.
Rivia, thank you, Geralt of Rivia. I do like his performance in that. It's solid. Okay,
Is it
what's
my
another one
turn?
of yours? Yeah,
Uh, you're probably gonna be mad that I took this one, whether it's on your list or not. But Jason Momoa,
I did not include him. It's a
especially for
strong
me,
pick.
because you go way back to Stargate Atlantis days,
Yes,
uh, and then we get comics and we get the Aquaman days, and then we move forward and we see him in Dune. He's been in this world for a long time,
humorously, when I came up with this category, I was thinking Jason Momoa,
and then
and then
didn't pick
didn't
him.
then didn't pick him. Yeah, didn't pick him. So I'm very happy you picked him because he's perfect for this.
Hmm.
My second one is Dwayne Johnson.
I think there's
You know,
a rock in there that you missed.
The Rock is in so many things. A lot of them are just straight action flicks, but he's definitely done some more fantastical things. He's done a little sci-fi. He's showing up in stuff
Is he gonna
that
show up in
works for me.
any like definite sci-fi fantasy coming up? That I don't know.
Well, one of the things he did more recently was Jumanji.
Yep.
That's definitely in this category.
Sure.
When you think of Rampage, based on a video game, but it's sci-fi.
No, that's fair.
San Andreas, these disaster films, they're science fiction, even though
Okay.
they're action
I'll give it to
flicks.
you. I don't
Yeah.
usually think of disaster films as science fiction, but I'll give it to you.
I mean, when you think of a lot of these disaster films, the world
They're
is
not
ending.
very
Why?
scientific,
Because
so
it's science fiction. Well, it's science fiction. Hello. So Dwayne Johnson fits on the list. What's your last one?
my last one is Jennifer Chan Garcia. And I
Nice
can never say her
pull.
name well,
You
and I
did it.
apologize
You
for it.
got it. You got
But
it.
both from first loving her performance in Van Helsing, and then
Mhm.
upcoming here in the Wheel of Time, being excited for
Yeah.
this.
I think we may have a whole bunch of new actors we might add to this list after the Wheel of Time is out.
That's probable.
Yeah. And even, the person playing Moraine is already a strongly established actress.
Do you not remember her name, or do you just not want to say it wrong?
Man, I do usually say it wrong, but to be honest, my mind is blanking at the moment.
I'm probably going to say it wrong too, but I believe it's Rosamund Park or Pike. Pike. Wow,
That
I
was
did say it
great.
wrong.
You're so worried about saying Rosman right, and you give her
Let's just put it
Park.
this way: I can't English, and we've established this.
I think it is Rosamund Pike. Yes.
I
I
also
think we're going to
never
be able to
opened my second drink, so I can't even blame that.
we're going to say be able to say she's a fantasy star. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But no, I went with Peter Dinklage.
that's fair.
Game of Thrones, also X-Men First Class, and he's done a number of other different sort of fantasy things. I think it's First Class, isn't he?
I think it's Days of Future Past.
Oh, dang it, you're right. You're right. But he's done a number of other things. Everything he's in, I love him. Great character. And I mean, Game of Thrones cemented him as a strong fantasy actor.
I believe that's both of our lists of 3 there on that one.
That is. That is. All right. The last thing we have here is
Okay.
just a quick rank from best to worst. And I have a few different things in the list here from the variety of science fiction and fantasy. So, first, elves, dwarves, and dragons. From best to worst, how do you order those?
Dragons, elves, dwarves.
I would say the same. All right. Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, The Wheel of Time.
Do I have to do a solid 3, or can I do a 2-way tie?
No waffling. No waffling. Must choose.
I'll put The Wheel of Time over Lord of the Rings, and then Chronicles of Narnia.
I would agree with that ranking. All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, the new version.
Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. I like Battlestar Galactica, but it does get the last slot for me.
I would go with the same argument there. Yep.
Can you
All
tell
right.
that we're related?
Now, pulling from the horror genre, which is definitely fantastical as well for much of it, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. Best to worst.
You named my order.
Ah. See, I would put Michael Myers first, then
Really?
Freddy Krueger, then Jason Voorhees. Because Michael Myers is just unstoppable badass. No emotion, just he's the one. And of course, I'm probably impacted by having watched the most recent Halloween movie last month. It's just so good. And Freddy Krueger, he just makes you laugh while he goes around killing lots of people. Focus on the first couple of movies more. And Jason Voorhees, it's just Jason. Anyways, last one, appropriate for our podcast. Rand, Matt, Perrin, Egwene, and Nynaeve.
The Emmonsfield 5.
Best to worst for you.
For me, we're going to go Matt, Perrin, Nynaeve, Rand, Egwene.
Okay.
And I like them all, but that's my order.
Mine would still start with Matt, but then I'd go to Rand. Then I'd go to Nynaeve. Then Perrin, then Egwene. Egwene's still last.
So our orders were pretty similar. We just switched Perrin and Rand. It's almost like I'm your son.
You know, we seem to have some similarities in our preferences.
We've got a lot of differences, but enough that we can agree upon to, have a podcast together.
There you go. All right. That's where we'll wrap this up then for today with all of these rankings. Great stuff. Thank you, everybody who submitted things to add to the richness of what we do. Again, there were more that were submitted. We couldn't put them all in. So maybe we'll do another episode, 50 episodes down the road or something, and
definitely
rank some more. Again, want to invite you to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts. We're on all the social medias that are most common: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We've got our Discord server that you could definitely join. Invitations and links to such things all appear in the show notes of the YouTube when it's posted, as well as on the podcast episode if you're listening.
And if you're thinking about supporting us more or wanting to be here live with us, you can go ahead and hop on over to our Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can be here live with us.
We'd love to have you be part of the Fantasy for the Ages family in that more elevated way and join the fun. I think that's what I'll stop with then today. You got anything else, Zach?
I've got nothing.
All right. Thanks for being with us, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.